Undecided election results, Bank of Canada cutting rates. We've got a lot to talk about when it comes to this episode of the Manning Up on Real Estate podcast. And this is episode 2 of Manning Up After Dark. It's just a casual conversation between you and I and what's going on in the province of British Columbia that you need to know about to make the right decisions as a real estate person, an entrepreneur, a business owner, or anyone in marketing. Let's talk about it. First and foremost, we're going to be talking today about the election that just happened here in the province of British Columbia and the results that we experienced, or in my opinion, lack thereof. There's a lot to talk about right there. Then we're going to talk about the Bank of Canada and their recent rate cut and what that's going to mean to both buyers, sellers, and the market in general. So let's dive right into it. First and foremost, let's talk about that election. What a fucking wild ride that was. I mean, at the end of the day, Kelly and I were watching the polls very closely. We're texting each other back and forth. And it was basically like feeling like we were in the middle of a transaction for a client and we're waiting on the subject removal to come in and waiting and waiting and waiting. And the agent just never sent the subject removal and the deal died. That is exactly what it felt like after dealing with the election that we just watched happen right now. Now, I will say this was an absolutely historic election when you think about it, because the Conservative Party has not really had much of a standing here in the province of British Columbia for many years. In fact, they haven't had any elected seats, I believe I heard, since 1930. That is a long time for a party to not really have any power in a province, and then suddenly they rose up, and so far they're sitting at about 43.6% of the popular vote, and they have elected at least 40 people as MLAs right now, 40 ridings taken by the Conservative government. That is absolutely historic. And really, it kind of boils down to the fact that John Rustad and his history, I'm not going to go too much into it. I'm not an expert when it comes to this stuff, but, you know, he did get kicked out of the BC United and went over to the Conservatives and really rallied them and really spurred on a Conservative party here in BC that actually is, you know, making waves out here. And it's interesting to see what the results were. They really campaigned hard. It seemed they really went to people to talk to them and find out what they're mad about. And it really showed to the NDP that things have not been great here in BC, especially with a lot of the policy that they've been putting in place. So people are wanting a change. Now, as it sits right now, we're currently sitting at NDP with 40 seats elected, Conservative government also with 40 seats elected, and Green Party with 2 so far. But there's still 11 seats that are still undecided because of how close they are, between the fact that they're looking to do recounts as well as they are expecting around 49,000 mail-in ballots right now. They cannot call these ridings yet in order to make sure that they properly have these things counted. Now, here's where it's really crazy. If you look at where the close races are, some of the margins you can see, Wanda Fuka-Malahat is less than a 0.1% margin. There's only 23 votes separating between the NDP lead to the Conservatives. So if that area got a significant amount of mail-in ballots that are for the Conservative government over the NDP, that riding could flip. The same could be said for some of these other ridings. Like we look at Surrey Guildford, Conservatives do have a lead in the Surrey Guildford area, but by only 103 votes, only a 0.5% margin. It's very thin. So any one of these 11 ridings right now, there is 6 for the NDP and there are 5 for the Conservatives. Any one of these could flip. If one of the Conservatives flip to an NDP, that means we're going to go back to a NDP majority government. If even just 2 flip over from the NDP over to the Conservative, we're going to have a Conservative majority government. Now, one of the things that I want to bring to the attention, though, is the fact that the Green Party, they took 2 seats right now, which doesn't sound like a lot. And I will admit, I kind of made a little bit of a joke on my last episode. You can check that out. But I kind of said, who actually votes for the Green Party? I mean, I don't actually know personally anyone who's voted for them, but they did end up getting 2 seats. And for a historic reason, they actually took a seat on the mainland here. If we zoom in this map, they took the West Vancouver seat of Skye in a very historical vote for them. They did lose one of their ridings, which was the, I believe it's the no, it was one of these ones where she was riding. I believe it was Cowichan Valley. I think I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. But they did lose one of their ridings where the Green Party leader was based out of, but they still did end up getting this one, Saanich North and the Islands. So the reason why this is significant and more significant than I originally thought when I was kind of making my joke on the last one is the fact that if you see these results, if these results stand and we have a 46 seats for the New Democrat Party and 45 the Conservative, if the Green Party decides to do a coalition with the Green Party and they do some sort of an agreement, that is going to significantly change how things are going to operate. And suddenly, the Green Party with 2 seats is going to become a major player when it comes to politics here in British Columbia. They're going to have a lot of sway when it comes to what the NDP is going to do or what they can't do based on whatever agreement they come into play, which a little scary in my opinion, but we'll have to see. So what's going to happen basically is that the results are going to go through a final count. Essentially, they are going to, here is how it's going to do. So Saturday, tomorrow, mail-in ballots count begins starting with the closest districts. So places like the Wandafuka Malahat and the Surrey Central are going to start getting their counts. Results updated on election website at 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. So we're probably going to start to see tomorrow maybe some going back and forth where they maybe count more seats to NDP, something might flip, and then it might flip back to Conservative, then flip back to NDP. So we're going to have to really monitor that. On Sunday, we're going to see that they're going to continue with the mail-in ballots, and Wandafuka and Surrey Central recounts begin at 1 p.m. Because it's so close right now, they're going to be doing recounts to make sure they're really accurate with those areas. And then Monday, October 18th, final count of absentee ballots in the all electoral districts, and results updated on the website starting at 9 a.m. And then results will update when Wandafuka recount completes. And basically, hopefully by Monday, October 28th, we know exactly who is going to be the elected government here in the province of British Columbia and what it's going to look like. At the end of the day, one of those things that is it's super crazy to look at how much demand there has been for change, though. While the NDP did get a significant amount of results, it still shows that there's a lot of people that are not too happy with what's going on in the way that the NDP has been running things for the last several years. Obviously, under the NDP rule, we have seen housing absolutely go crazy and skyrocket. And while they try to continue to put blame on people like you or I who are sitting there with rental properties or Airbnb or anything like that, all of the initiatives that they've put in place to try to curb the investor demand has not drastically helped. Now, what I will say here, obviously, our market has been down for the last nearly 2 years, and that is just through a compounding effect. It's the attack on the entrepreneurs, on the business people through taxes, through restrictions, through everything like that. We've also seen obviously the fact that the federal government had been also levying a tax in terms of going after income, and they've introduced the underused housing tax that they're trying to do, and all these other things. Of course, everyone doesn't want you to make money in real estate here in Canada, it seems, but those who have held out, at the end of the day, you're going to do very, very well because people still need housing. That's just what it boils down to. And we all know that. So if you hold out and you're able to hold out, you're going to be providing housing for people and you're going to profit on the other side of a downturn in the market. Saying that, though, we can kind of shift over to the Bank of Canada. Bank of Canada has just dropped their rate in a big way with a 0.5% reduction, bringing their lending rate down to 3.75%. I see a lot of people posting about it. I see a lot of people like, yay, rates have come down. And yes, I am excited too, because one, if you're on a variable rate mortgage, this is a sigh of relief. You can fact check me on this one, drop in the comments if I'm wrong. I believe what I read is that for every $100,000 that you have in a mortgage, it's equating to about $30 in a reduction in your monthly payment. And at the end of the day, anything adds up. So, it's definitely a sigh of relief for some people on their monthly budget, especially with how expensive everything else is getting. The more reprieve you can get on one side, it helps to cover off some of the other areas of your life where it's more expensive. Where a lot of the confusion lies, and I've had some comments over on my TikTok and a few other things. If you're not following me over on TikTok, go check it out. It's Cameron E. Manning on TikTok. We had some people commenting that they didn't understand the difference on why it's not impacting the fixed rate mortgages. And so I think it's important to understand that if we're talking about fixed rate mortgages versus variable, the two of them operate on a different kind of scale. The Bank of Canada affects the variable rate mortgages because that is the rate that the banks use to set their prime rate at, and obviously then come up with what they're going to lend out as interest rates. So that's very important if you're looking to do some sort of a variable rate or any sort of other lending option like that. Now, on the other other side, when we talk about the fixed rate mortgages, that is tied to bond yields, so the Canadian bond yield. So if the bond yield is increasing and going up, there's a high likelihood we're going to see that the fixed rates go up as well. However, if bond yields are on the decline, we tend to see that the fixed rates do follow as well. Again, I am not a mortgage broker, so I do highly recommend that you talk to a mortgage broker when you're looking to figure out your lending options when you're looking to get into the market. And if you guys need some great referrals, I can definitely do that for you guys. Now, at the end of the day, why this is not as significant as I think it is, but why a lot of people think it's more significant is because everyone's focus right now is on the fact that the market is down. It is really slow out there because over the summertime, and I showed it in my last episode, so go and check that one out. Over the summertime, we have had a significant increase in the inventory. Greater Vancouver, for example, has over 15,000 listings right now on the market. That is up significantly and only sitting at about 1,800 sales. So we are definitely deep into a buyer's market right now. I believe the sales to active ratio is around 9%. Anything below 12% for a sustained period of time is a buyer's market, and we see downward pressure on prices of homes. Everyone's focus is, okay, buyers are going to come into the market. We've got drop in interest rate. They're going to jump off the fence. They're going to start buying. And while I agree that that is going to spur some buyers on, the thing is, because we have taken on so much new inventory, it is actually going to take a while. And anytime that the government makes any sort of announcement, we actually have a lag effect that actually happens. It's not like tomorrow they make the announcement and then 30,000 people go run over to their bank or broker and say, I want to buy, get me qualified. And all the realtors suddenly start getting really busy showing houses. That's not the case. It's actually going to take a lot more people to absorb this inventory than we expect. And I think that it's going to take a while for people to say, okay, I'm ready to jump in now. Case in point, we're into the fall market, heading into the winter. One, two, we've got a significant amount of choice. So if buyers are looking on the market, they might get a little confused by the level of choice that they have. Three, it's just going to take too much time for this to absorb. We definitely need more rate drops to really make an impact. And I think this is a good start. And I think it will spur some buyers into the market. But if you're a seller right now, don't sit there and hold out on the value of your home. This is the biggest mistake in a conversation I've had with many sellers right now, is that they're like, oh, well, I'm going to wait because the rates just came down and buyers are going to spend more. It's not necessarily true. They're going to see your days on market and they're going to look at how they can still get a deal. Even though now they might be coming into the market, they are looking for deals because it's more affordable for them. Secondly, if you're a buyer in the market, I do think, and I do agree, you should start looking at taking action, because if we do have another rate drop and we do see an increase in the level of activity from buyers, well, what that's going to mean is we are going to start to absorb that inventory and you're going to end up having to potentially compete in the market against other buyers. And that's not what you want. And when you start competing, when we start seeing that the inventory gets absorbed, prices will start to rise. And when prices rise, you're going to be SOL because you make your money on the buy. At the end of the day, if you lock into a property at today's interest rates, you can always ride that down. If you're going for a variable and you expect variable to continue to go down, guess what? Buy now. Ride that down. The difference in the interest that you're going to pay is going to be so minor comparative to the price potential jump that could happen in a year from now or 2 years from now as the market does start to improve. If you're on a fixed rate, that's fine. You're going to lock in, and potentially, if we all think rates are going to continue to go down, you'll get a better rate when you go to renew your mortgage. So at the end of the day, you need to date the rate and marry the property itself. So if you've been thinking about buying, I do recommend going out and taking action, not from the fear of the fact that you're going to be competing with other buyers because there's going to be a flood of the market, more that we're probably seeing that the property values have leveled out now and you're going to make your money on the buy right now. So that is the BC election, and that is the two big announcements this week. It's kind of crazy how much has happened since our last conversation here with each other. And, it just goes to show there's a lot happening out there that we need to pay attention to as investors, as business owners, that can impact the decisions that we make. So obviously, from today, we're going to find out who actually gets voted into power in the BC election, and it's going to be an interesting one to follow. We're definitely going to follow up with it and do another one of these episodes. And of course, we're going to follow what's happening in the market, because we should be seeing the October stats start to come out shortly after the end of the month. So again, thanks for guys listening. If you guys are listening to this on Spotify or Apple or anything like that, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Leave me a review. Every review definitely helps. And of course, I love your feedback. And also, if you guys are watching this on the Manning Up on Real Estate YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button if you guys are finding value from this, and drop some comments. Should I continue these Manning Up After Dark? Do you like these casual conversations with each other? And if you do, hit that subscribe button, drop some comments, and of course, like this video. That definitely helps me out. And also, I'm looking for topics that you want to hear about as well, so you can drop those in the comments. Thanks so much for watching and or listening, guys, and we will catch you guys on the next episode of the Manning Up on Real Estate podcast. This was Manning Up After Dark.